I say tomato.
And I say massa Chessie.
And I say potato.
What?
Let's call the whole thing off.
Okay, the adventure continues.
Mm.
We're almost there, lads.
Yes, yes. The law of diminishing returns is in full effect at this stage of we are down. If Joe D'Amato was a winery, we are down to the dregs at the bottom of a pretty filthy barrel at this point. But maybe not filthy enough. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe part of my problem with this eight was that it doesn't lower itself or rise to the heights or depths of what we've seen up until now. But
There you go. If you like stretching and mixing your analogies, Nick's
I'm your
man
man.
for you. He's here. So yeah, 8 more D'Amato films. Yes, let's get to it. Let's
Let's
get
delve in.
Right. So we kick off with the first of a new quote unquote series. I guess it is we'll talk about this, but I guess the first two are
They seem to share the same lead character.
yeah. And then after that is we will see about that. But this is 11 Days, 11 Nights, a biblical epic from 1986.
Yep. So the last one we watched was that Delizia thing, right? I think that was the kind of the shitty Porky's adjacent thing where characters kept mentioning by name 9.5 weeks over and over again. But now we've actually reached the official 9.5 weeks ripoff.
Yes, although it's been a while since I've seen
Kim Basinger's nipples.
9.5 weeks. So I don't know how close, because the 9.5 weeks I was looking it up as well. It's not set in New Orleans, right? I think it's like New York or something like that.
Yeah, but it has Mickey Rourke in it. And we all associate Mickey Rourke immediately with New Orleans. I mean, there's no question, right?
Well, we'll get to that when we get to 3, because I'm thinking they might have chucked a bit of Angel Heart in the pot.
Oh, definitely in that pile of voodoo shite.
But do either of you seen 9.5 weeks? Is is there anything else other than the numerical part and it's an erotic drama and there's a bit of food involved? Is there anything stronger connecting this to 9.5 weeks?
It's been so long since I've seen it.
It hasn't turned up recently on Tubi or Plex.
No.
Right.
No, I probably haven't seen it since the 80s, to be honest, like since 89 or something like that.
Yeah, it's not something I've been raging to go back and I remember, isn't Malcolm McDowell in one of the sequels or the kind of fake sequels?
Oh, I mean, it makes sense.
The first 9.5 weeks, I think, maybe.
Okay. Is that a prequel?
I think it was probably totally unrelated and they just put that title on it, but it's been a while. But unfortunately it hasn't been a while since I rewatched 11 Days, 11 Nights.
This wasn't your first viewing.
No, I saw this back in the day.
Okay.
And checking my review, I seem to be at that time I saw it in close proximity to 9.5 weeks, and I think my take back in the day was that it was better than 9.5 weeks at least.
Okay.
So Joe D'Amato, this is one of several that he shot under the slight. It changes a little bit, but basically the pseudonym Federico Slonisco, right, is his cinematography credit. I don't know what's going on there. What he was. It's a bit random. Federico Slonisco. There we go. Bang it. He doesn't give a shit, clearly.
No. And it stars Luciano Ottaviani under the assumed name of Jessica Moore as a character whose name is Sarah Asprune, which
Yeah,
That's a great
speaking of
name.
names, they didn't give a fuck about.
Like, she known for spending a lot of time in the bath. Like, what's anyway? Yeah. So
Or
she,
takes a lot of headache medication with the spoon. But yeah,
not sure.
oddly enough as well, she's the that's the screenwriting credit as well, isn't it? Which is
Yes,
actually for Rosella Drudi.
and the
Um,
great Claudio Fragasso.
and Rosella Drudi is Mrs. Claudio Fragasso in real life.
Oh, okay.
And had used the Asprun pseudonym before, I think, because apparently she was one of those rare female screenwriters in Italian.
Trash.
Yeah, and also I think, unless I'm getting confused with someone else, prior to that she wrote like comics and things as well.
Okay.
And I think she felt the need to pose as a man to get her foot in the door.
Right, right. Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, so Jessica Moore, aka Luciana Ottaviano, is Sarah Asprun, who is Rosella Drudy, but I don't think it's supposed to be. I don't think it's not like the Emmanuel series where Asprun, the screenwriter, is like supposed to be a real life character, and this is
Mhm.
if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Yes, and yes, but our star is a guy called Joshua McDonald. Don't know who he is.
Yeah, imagine like vaguely Eric Roberts in like rape glasses, like, and you've pretty much got him, I think.
Are they called rape glasses? Are they?
Like kind of like yeah, that yeah, I think so. Um,
Is that like beer goggles? Like when you
yeah,
look through
I
them,
think so.
everyone's a potential rape victim.
I suspect so. Yeah.
Gag
Um,
gagging for it glasses.
yeah. Um,
Are these that?
no, no, they're
Uh,
not nearly 80s enough looking. They need to be a bit more squarey and kind of yeah, no.
yeah,
Um,
these are my Gestapo glasses. I like to think of these as.
oh,
Um,
that's much better, Clive.
Get
So
Jones!
anyhow, yeah, so this is one of the ones where she's like she's kind of like Emmanuel Light, right? Like she's
Yeah,
writing a book kind of a thing, and also the whole setup is that she's writing this book about her 100th lover, and she basically steals this guy who's going to he's going to get married in 11 days, right? And she kind of seduces him, and they spend 11 days of her um really being quite cruel to him. Like he really like it's he's really for a guy who constantly claims he's not a masochist, he really puts up with a lot of shit. Um,
yeah, and she is even actually working for Emmanuel, or at least
oh,
Black,
she is.
because Laura Gemser is her publisher.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So she's writing like a tell-all about her, right? And she seduces him on a ferry, on whatever that river is in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Um,
But a film sort of produced at the height of the AIDS crisis, it's like cheerfully irresponsible. I mean, she slept with 99 guys. He's meant to get married with something like affair with a random person on a radio.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you'd think this is far enough into the 80s that AIDS would be a concern. So,
Yeah.
hmm.
I think it's like a few years later you sort of see these sort of films getting all responsible, and especially like the Salmon King sort of stuff like that. But it's almost like someone having to wear a condom or something like that.
Hmm.
Died.
yeah, it's a few years until the glow in the dark sword fight of Skin Deep, right?
Oh, Jesus, wet. I'd forgotten about that completely. That's just like a memory just came back from the 80s.
Speaking of which, there's an interesting. I don't think this would, because I think maybe when I first saw this, it would have been the UK VHS. I don't think we had the insert of a silhouette of an erection in the ferry scene at the beginning.
Okay, yes.
I feel that would have probably been missing from the UK.
Yeah, that probably would have gotten a clip for sure. Um, yeah, yeah, terrible music. I have to get ahead of this as well. There's the Not a Lover Can Do Me song that plays a couple of times is egregious. And then the other one is the keep saving, 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 saving. Fuck off. And it's not just in this movie, but it's in at least one of the others, maybe two of the others.
Yeah, there's a little bit of incidental music as well that I'm sure I've heard about a million times by now, but I can't identify it, and I can't even do it. Like I don't know how to imitate it, but it's we've seen it in quite a few films now. It's kind of like I don't even know how to explain it. It's a vaguely kind of frat house kind of theme or something, and it turns up in, was it in this or yeah, it's in a whole bunch of these films, and it's getting to
Piece of
quite
lively
annoy me
music.
now when I yeah,
Right.
because it means I'm watching another 80s Joe D'Amato film. Reminds me, what the fuck am I doing with my life?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, look at this. Look at this.
Well, why is it typed? This is the bit I don't get. Like,
Because I told you, because I watched them on my laptop, and
look,
then
I have
easier.
scribbles, but
And yours looks again like you're trying to solve the Zodiac murders.
well, you sent yours off to a mimeograph agency.
Yeah, I don't think I can even read my own, but I don't know.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
There we go.
So much care.
I think we can all agree that we are all three of us not making the best use of our time on this. Yes.
Anyhow, yeah, this is the only thing that I actually thought was interesting about this is it kind of takes a slightly darker turn in the last third, in that like the jilted like fiance basically, right, who he's taken off from for this 11 days of nonstop sex with this kind of mean girl.
With a little tiny bit of food play to tie it into 9.5 weeks at one point.
Yeah, this is the one that, or is it the second one that has the shrimp? I think it's this,
Yeah, it's the fucking second one. Don't mention that ever again. That's disgusting.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah. But then yeah, so this is kind of like the scenes like nearer the end of the movie where like she's just kind of goes off the deep end, like the fiance, and it's like just kind of wandering shell shocked through the streets and kind of following him around and stuff. And it's like quite grim compared to the tone of the rest of the thing, right?
I did quite like that scene where she's following them and then a guy hits on her. Like, he just won't quit for a while, right? He's really pestering. And it works as well.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's the lesson for you lads. Keep at it. Speaking of dated kind of messaging as well, I mean, the ending.
Oh my God. Yes. So, I mean, it's going to be completely clear that he has been, just abjectly, obviously cheating on his fiance the whole time. And then at the very end, when he realizes that the book, it's all been in the book, he storms out. At which point she is now, Sarah Asprun or whatever the hell her name is, she's now in tears and saying, no, but I really do love you.
He attempts to rape her as well.
Oh God, yes.
And then says, fuck you, you're not worth it. And then we just see him kind of simpering at the end. He goes back to his fiancée and she opens the door with some flowers. And she's
it's open arms.
Oh, yeah, it's all right. And you're thinking, yep, that film wouldn't have that ending nowadays, right?
No. Yeah, wow. Yeah, I think my last note just says he goes back to the long-suffering fiancée and she takes him back for reasons? Question mark. Not reasons that are explained in the movie, but
the one that has like a random scene from Stage Fright.
Yes.
Earlier, Stage Fright.
In the theatre, right?
Yeah, it's that old gag of it where it's sort of, you don't realise it's a film within a film.
It's quite well done. That's the only bit that's quite well done because it catches you off guard because it's end credits, isn't it? And you immediately look, because the film
was abrupt. Yeah. Quick shot of the owl killer from Stage Fright and end credit.
You could say that you could say that it's teasing you actually. It's a bit of bait to switch because they're like, thank fuck. Oh no, it's 40 minutes.
But is Stage Fright, was there any connection between Film Mirage and it? Or like I'm just wondering how
I think the woman playing the nice girlfriend, she's in Stage Fright, so there's a sort of in joke like it's actually
okay.
while she's watching.
Yes, yes. That now I'm looking at a picture on IMDb and yeah, okay. Interesting.
I also did vaguely find amusing the scene where we're introduced to a singer-songwriter woman who sings this song about your bad breath makes me love you
Oh
or
yeah.
something. And I was like, shit, piss, coming. Like that was quite a catchy little
Yes, that's the best song in the movie by a long stretch.
um yeah, so this wasn't very good, but sad
Nope.
to say, looking ahead here, this may be one of the better films of this batch.
Possibly.
Yeah, it got worse.
I remember it being quite a big deal in back in the day on UK video. It seemed to do quite well. I remember seeing it about a lot.
Yeah, you would see it about. You would see it about. This was one, like later on in the mid 90s or whatever, Redemption and Salvation or whatever put out some Tomato stuff, but that's obviously that came
Yeah,
couched in that kind of, this was stuff you would find on regular videotapes, right? Like uh yeah.
yeah. I've had, yeah.
Yeah, I remember it being at about, and it must have been hit somewhere because there's like, I mean, not really, but there's like five of them, right? There's five 11 days, 11 nights, if you in the fake series. So yeah, they must have done good business
Yes.
somewhere.
Yeah. Hmm.
We only got the first two in the UK.
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember seeing the second one back in the day, but but this one I caught on VHS. Yeah. Yeah, not much to say about it
No,
really.
no. Let's move swiftly along. So are we straight into the sequel? Are we into this uh top model or
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Um, yeah. So
my
top,
first note to this just says, fuck you, Joe. Save and save and saving.
yeah,
Save and save.
Top model, aka 11 Days, 11 Nights Part 2, which actually, to be fair, this time it kind of is. I mean, there's definitely links, but it's almost like an overlap rather than a direct sequel. She seems to be. She's still, well, she might still be Sarah Asprun because that's the
I think she is. I think she is. And I think
screenwriter
it's
credit.
still Laura Gemser more or less playing her publisher again, because it's still the setup is still that it's a book. They appear
Yes.
to be an escort agency, but really that's a cover for this investigative journalism.
Well, it's a double shell game, right? So actually, the front is that it's a modeling agency,
Right.
and Jessica Moore gets sent out. There's like a fat dude who enjoys photographing her in a
Oh
loft,
yeah, yeah. The kind of vaguely John Candy-esque, like
right?
SCTV kind of character, yeah.
And then it turns out, and then there's some Italian mobsters who are just straight up hiring as a prostitute, and they have like a hidden
Mhm.
camera and stuff like that. Yeah,
That I will say both of those scenes are worth unpacking just because of like what else is going on. So that first scene where she goes to the warehouse or what, or not like where, but like almost parking garage, it looks like, right? With the guy with the camera, and it's all the mannequins, including mannequins with like dildo dicks, and she's kind of making love to all of these. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that fat
such a
dude seems to
weird
have a
scene.
major project on the go. Uh,
Yes, yes.
because
Yeah,
he
very
keeps going
specific
back, and yeah,
interest.
he's got a vision, I think.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, you watch the future Mario Bava movies and
yeah,
then
and yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, the Italian gangster guy who's kind of like I wrote down Ray Liotta if he was a milkman.
Yeah, that seems
Like,
fair.
like I can imagine him turning up on your doorstep and looking vaguely threatening, and Ray Liotta like, but he's got the cap and the float behind.
Um, yeah. Yeah, and so yeah, so that scene, the scene where he makes love to her is in what looks like a warehouse that keeps like parade floats in
Yeah,
it.
Christmas parade
Oh,
floats. Yeah.
yeah. So they keep zooming in on these weird, goofy looking kind of like cartoon heads and stuff, which also I would imagine would put you off your stroke if you would just,
Yeah,
come in
I don't know. I suppose
out of the rain.
if you do anything in New Orleans, they're like you can't get away from parades or something like that. Like because they do like doing all that second line stuff, right?
Oh, yes. Which is the one where it's just like the 5 minutes people are staring at a fire. That might be the voodoo one. It might be part 3 where like they're just like, oh, something's on fire up there, and it's obviously just actual footage that they shot of.
Yeah, we forgot to mention in 11 Days, 11 Nights, there is a little bit of local color, but they seem to have chosen like the most boring New Orleans street musicians going, and they filmed the bride to be kind of just moping around and watching some crap
This
street
must have
performance.
been before all of the Girls Gone Wild, because you'd think Joe would have been there for, Mardi Gras, right? With all the beads and lady parts on display. But maybe they weren't doing that in the 80s. I don't know. Like when did the Girls
Oh,
Gone Wild?
I think they've been doing that for a long while, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
George, wrong
you
season.
missed your chance. Yeah.
Yeah, so every time you back up something on your PC now, you'll find yourself singing "Saving, saving, saving." Yeah, so it's a fake modeling agency which is actually running sex workers, but also at the same time, not only it's quite potty when you think about it. Not only is Jessica Moore posing as a prostitute, but Laura Gemser, the madam of this establishment, is still an editor.
Yes.
And they went to the trouble of setting up this organization, and then it turns out that Laura Gemser is kind of she's gone too deep, right? She's gone
She's fallen a bit in love with the money,
yeah,
the easy money in the
which isn't in the end is kind of resolved and it's fine. Did you notice as well what the name of their prostitution agency was?
No.
Papillon, of all things. So yeah, that makes you think of a nice night out with a lady of your choice. Is a prison colony film starring Dustin Hoffman as I want me some Papillon. Yeah, anyway, it's either that or sorry, all our girls are booked. May I recommend you go over to the Marathon Man agency? It's like so yeah, so that's going on, and again, she kind of actually, what the fuck did happen in this film?
So this is the one I think where for some reason she ends up sort of stringing. Yeah, this is really strange. She ends up stringing along this young virginal guy who's the computer programmer.
That's right, James Butterfield, who is also in
shows up in Killing Birds. Yeah, playing also a computer programmer. So clearly he was typecast very early on in his Joe D'Amato career. But yeah, but he's also being courted by a dude.
That's right. Yes, that's right. Which is apparently they removed this from the US version, right? They removed some of the sexier scenes and they removed the bisexual. Yeah, because that would confuse Americans, right? So,
right.
Doesn't that figure quite heavily into the end, though? I mean, how would the end work in any conversion?
Yeah, I don't know quite how they cut around it, but apparently they removed that stuff, which is a shame because that's kind of the stuff that makes it a little bit more interesting.
Interesting. I thought so too.
Yeah. I mean, let's not get ahead of it. It's not that interesting, but
nope.
but a little different. Now, of course, what is interesting is Mark Shannon as a cowboy, and he's a cowboy because when he opens the door, he goes, "Hot dog!" and he wears a cowboy hat. And he's in town with another guy from Texas who could only be described as a thin Ron Jeremy lookalike.
Mm-hmm.
And they hire, so you get to see Jessica Moore and Gemser riding Mark Shannon like a rodeo.
It does. Yes. Oh, yeah. That's an amazing thing. Yeah. It's just in the background.
Once again, Nick, please temper your language. Amazing. Isn't that a bit strong?
Well, it was, I mean, if you lower your expectations sufficiently, then yes.
Yeah, I suppose so, yes. Yeah.
But I think
you got a bit of a dopamine hit from that.
Exactly. I wonder why Joe didn't have her be Emmanuelle. It seems weird to me, given that it would make sense almost for her to have graduated into the editor job that was usually played by old white dudes in her Emmanuelle films.
Mm.
So I'm surprised that why weren't they just an extension, like a next generation? Um,
Yeah, I don't
seems
know.
like a missed opportunity
It's a
to me.
good point, and maybe you might want to save that thought, saving that thought for future reference. But yeah,
I
yeah,
will say that
good point.
I have notes here that clearly are the result of THC. Because for some reason I thought this final scene basically so in the final scene, right, it seems as though our young computer programmer guy has actually chosen the more, nurturing, possibly, the dude, right? Like it ends with him seemingly going off with him, but then seconds later, like running back uh into the open arms of,
Yes.
ass
Oh
prune.
God, phew! He's embraced
Um,
the heteronormative lifestyle just in the nick of time, so
yes, yes.
that filthy gay didn't corrupt
But
his.
that's the thing. For some reason, my mind immediately went to this. Immediately after seemingly choosing his male body, computer programmer Cliff comes sprinting back into our arms, and then say, like in my mind, saying, like, "Oh my God, you wouldn't believe the smell off of that guy's knob. Total deal breaker." And I laughed and laughed and laughed like a fucking buffoon.
Yeah,
And it says here, this is absolutely hilarious to me right now
yes, but
in
he
my
didn't say
present
that.
state.
Just for the viewer at home.
No, no, definitely doesn't.
No, that
But
was
this is where my mind went in that moment. But something must have happened in that car.
you cracked yourself up with that ad-libbed bit of commentary.
I did. I did. Um, yeah, further benefits
There you
of
go.
legalized weed, everyone.
You at home might want to get your copy of Top Model out and overdub yourself saying in the last scene, "Ah, no, no, that guy's mom
Exactly.
was overwhelmingly stinky." And then next time, surprise yourself and you can enjoy the film.
I have nothing else to say. Gav, do you have anything to add to
No,
Top
no,
Model?
This
no.
time, the cinematography credit goes to one Fred Slonisco Jr., I guess the son of the cinematographer from the
It's
previous
taking up
film.
his father's mantle.
Yes, the acorn does not fall far from the tree.
It's apparently Joe's own son, the cinematographer these days.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I believe so. He's worked on a big film.
Hmm.
That's interesting. I did not know that. Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, you'd think we'd know everything about fucking Joe D'Amato by now, but
But
apparently
all we're
that's
doing is
the
watching his movies. We haven't actually done any research whatsoever.
Oh, sorry. Should just reiterate quite how horrible the shrimp and unsexy the shrimp sexy is as well. So this is basically they got a huge plate of
Oh,
shrimp
yes.
and they just like rub shrimp on each other a bit before
Yeah.
getting on with it. And it was just I was hoping Ebira was gonna turn up and get all Lovecraft on them. Um,
But also, as I'm watching it, my notes here
oh, here we
say
go. Did you add another bit of
I
voice?
did, I did. No, I simply wrote down shrimps used in nipple play. I wish I could say that I haven't already seen a movie with this in it before, but I have, and it was with these two fucking people. Whatever that boat film we watched, where it was like home invasion on a boat, it was like Last Boat on the Left.
Oh, sex and violence.
That's the one. Do you remember all of the shrimp boob play in that?
Wasn't that crab?
Oh, I still think it was, I don't know. Was it not shrimp?
But and there was a lot more masticating.
It was a lot,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was
It was
weird. That was just.
really.
But again, that was like it went for it. That was at least like properly gross. This is just lightly like, ugh, like.
And I suspect this is supposed to be arousing, which I hope that the scene in Last Boat on the Left wasn't supposed to be titillating. Um,
Yeah, no, I don't kink shame, Nick.
oh, I'm
Yeah,
dreadfully sorry.
right. Okay,
Okay. Are we done with
moving
this?
swiftly along.
Okay.
Um,
What's up next?
killing birds,
Oh, okay. Yes.
aka raptors, aka Zombie 4 or aka Zombie 5. Or this is I didn't realize that this apparently got a new K release as Zombie Flesh Eaters 4.
Oh,
So I I think Zombie Flesh Eaters 2 would have been the
Zombie
B3, right?
Yes.
So what would have Zombie Flesh Eaters 3 been?
Zombie 4 is the one with Jeff
Or
Fry.
after death?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Ah, okay. So that would that have been? I think that must have been after I left the. I'm assuming this is a Vipco retitling. Like
Yeah, I think that's when Mike Lee was going off the deep end. He titled everything Zombie Flesh Eaters.
this would have been like early 2000s, maybe.
Yeah, possibly.
Right. Okay. Because I don't remember those on the shelves before I left the UK. Yeah. So I'm guessing it must have been in the last days of Vipco, right?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be pretty upset if I rented this thinking it was a legitimate sequel to Full Cheese Zombie, that's for sure.
I think you would have just been upset renting this full stop, right? I did rent this at some point from a Japanese video shop when I was renting because when I first moved to Tokyo from the UK, it was like especially the Shinjuku branch of Tsutaya being a video chain which has mostly disappeared now, sadly, but the Shinjuku branch of Tsutaya kept all their videos, like going back to well, you went there as well, right?
Yes, oh yeah.
Back to the 80s, and they kept them in good condition. They cleaned them and stuff. So it was a bit of like a VHS museum. You could still
Mhm.
rent like and they weren't like going to clog up your machine. You could still rent the mid 80s Japanese domestic release of like the Worm Eaters and things like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I don't know if that's where I picked up Killing Birds, probably. But yes, so this is Joe D'Amato as well. So actually, this is a contentious one, right? So officially, this might be a guy called Claudio Lattanzi, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
aka Claude Millican. And you got Danielle Stroppa, Sheila Goldberg, and Joe D'Amato he's definitely a producer. It's from Film Mirage and his Flora film, right? But he's uncredited as anything. But apparently he pretty much directed this film as well.
Most of it. My
Yeah.
understanding is that the other guy only maybe directed one or two scenes. And I'm pretty sure in that Spaghetti Nightmares book, when interviewed, Joe D'Amato maintains that he directed like 90% of this.
Right. So we're still in Louisiana.
Yep.
Apparently that's the same house from the Beyond, right? The clapperboard house
Yes.
and an airborne ranger veteran comes home.
Mhm.
I'm assuming it's from Nam. I
Mhm.
guess that's how the timeline uh, lines up. And
Yeah.
comes home. I guess he finds his missus in bed with another. I mean, it's not really heavily explained, right? You kind of
No.
it's inferred. Comes home, finds his missus in bed with another man, slits the throat, kills a couple of neighbors as well, including that fat guy from 11 Days, 11 Nights.
Yep.
But
And then some birds. And then some birds tear his eyeballs out.
yeah, because he also has a collection, or she has a collection, or someone has a collection of birds of prey.
Hmm.
We should up front as well. I mean, I know sometimes it's the charm of some Italian genre cinema is it's not logic and narrative based, right? It's all imagery
Hmm.
but when that doesn't work, which it doesn't here, it's
There's
like
not much left.
the fuck. It's just yeah, I still don't really know what the story is here. But so he gets his eyes pecked out and he manages to save his baby boy
Mhm.
before I assume getting put in a mental hospital or a prison or something.
Yes. I think actually, no, I think he goes off and works with the Man for Uncle team for quite a while, if my understanding is correct,
I think
right?
that was before he went to Nam.
Oh, okay. So this
Yeah.
is this is post Man from Uncle.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So fast forward to well, I guess 1987, and there's
Hmm.
a keen ornithologist student.
This guy is so unconvincing as anything other than a slightly concussed, like college football player. the idea of trying to sell him as like a science major, investigating like some bird that's like 2 years from extinction or whatever is.
It's the ivory-billed woodpecker. Everyone knows that. Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
so this is
He's hilariously inept, that guy.
Timothy Watts. Although one thing I will say in his favor, he must have been a local guy because he's the one guy who has the right accent.
Yes.
He
He does
does
sound
exactly
from
the right
Louisiana.
accent. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so he's a keen ornithologist, and he's managed to get some kind of grant to search for the ivory-billed woodpecker because it's almost extinct, apparently. And everyone's very excited, all his friends, much more than I think most normal college students. Most of you are, fuck your fucking woodpecker, I'm off to get stoned. Right? But they're all into it, including his ex, as played from Laura Wendell from Ghost.
Oh, everyone's favorite.
Can I just point out at this point as well? Can I just say, just this will explain. This kind of puts things into context. That piece of shit film Ghost House is a classic compared to Killing Birds. It is the birds compared to Killing Birds. I longed to hear that fucking, hey there.
Yeah.
That would have pepped this.
That would have elevated fucking proceedings.
Yeah, we don't even have save and even. So yeah, so and they go off and they find so they've got again, this doesn't, they've got a list of witnesses, the last people who've seen the ivory-billed wood. I don't know how you go about compiling a list like this. Like, was someone sent out with like a, excuse me, I'm just canvassing in the area today. Have you ever seen the ivory-billed woodpecker? Well, now let me tell you. Yeah, I think I did. And when would that have been? Well, I don't recall the day exactly, but just anyway. And it turns out that the guy who's killed his family is also one of the final witnesses of the ivory-billed woodpecker. He's now a blind Robert Vaughn.
Yes, what the hell is Robert Vaughn? I mean, I know that he's made quite a few turkeys in his time, but this has to have been a nadir for him.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
He's like lending himself out to like B movies at this time, wasn't he? In some Buried Alive, another one around this period.
Yeah, yeah.
Some Jim Wynorski film, Transylvania Twist.
Yeah, he was in a few. I think he's in a few Wynorski films, which is when you know you're.
Yeah, because isn't there that bit in that Schlockmeister's book or whatever where Wynorski talks about every time he would come on, he would introduce him as a Robert Vaughn starve, and he started with like with his most famous films, and he would slowly move down to Robert Vaughn starve, and like absolute
teenage
shit.
Man. Yeah.
And for some reason, Robert Vaughn thought this was hilarious. Really enjoyed his career.
The thing I remember from that as well, which is generally, obviously Jim Wynorski sets were more fun to be on than to actually watch his films. But is it Transylvania Twist maybe? And apparently there's a scene where he puts on a record, and he's supposed to say something like, "Oh, this was my late wife's favorite" or something, and he kind of bursts into tears or something. But Jim Wynorski just gave him like a blank kind of record and he puts it on, and it's the Man from U.N.C.L.E. theme tune, and apparently Robert Vaughn has lost it.
Nice.
But so and again, they know from the get-go that this is the house of this known killer as well. It's not like a surprise or anything, but god damn it, they need to know when the ivory-billed woodpecker was last seen. I'm assuming he saw it before the iPeck. It wasn't the ivory-billed woodpecker that pecked.
That was I don't know.
Because he is a bird enthusiast as well, because he has a reel-to-reel tape that he enjoys. Again, he enjoys recording bird song on and just listening back to. And I guess that's a good old time.
Yeah, I also love the fact that like we've got that computer programmer guy from the last film, right? He's back again playing another computer programmer. But this is that era where people thought computers could do anything. It's like, like quite near the end of the film, they're like, well, let's find out what the computer has to, maybe he can solve the problem. Like, what? What? and then somehow it does. I'm not sure what information they fed into its data banks that it was able to figure out who the murderer was. But yeah. Also, he has the best line in the movie. He's the one who at one point just says, "I don't just wear this compass for decoration, man." Um,
Yes, the
but he
final.
does. He wears a compass around his neck. I thought initially it was like a Flavor Flav style, like clock or something like that. But no, turns out he has a compass around his neck.
He has a lot of non sequitur kind of supposedly amusing lines as well.
Mhm.
In a way,
Yes, at
in a
least he
way,
gets
in a way, it sort of reminds me a bit of an anthropophagus. You've got these not very interesting characters exploring a haunted house atmospheric sort of location for way too long before anything happens.
Yeah, but I mean, we talked about Anthropophagus when we talked about it. The thing that even though you didn't like it as much as we
Mhm.
both did, the thing about that though that I think it works even if you well not works, but you can say in its favor even if you didn't like it. At least it has a kind of simplicity where it's just some kind of ancient evil that arises or something, right? The thing with this is it's needlessly complicated and doesn't make sense, right? Because it tries to tie in so it turns out the ornithologist enthusiast is Robert Vaughan's son, the baby boy from the beginning, and then zombies and things or whatever. Because
Yeah, the zombies. Yeah, that's.
under the hallucination of a girl being crucified, the main Laura Wendell from the masterpiece Ghost House,
Mhm.
and they seem to be hinting at maybe in a beyond like way actually that maybe the house is to blame. Maybe the
Mhm.
house led him to overreact and kill everyone when he came back from Nam, or so it lacks the simplicity of Anthropophagus, I think, because
Mhm.
there's a whole bunch of other crap going on, and yeah, it doesn't really make. And again, if it was in the hands of someone who, well, Joe D'Amato could potentially have pulled it off because I think he did with Anthropophagus, but um, this kind of thing, if it's hallucinogenic enough, if it's trippy enough, if it's got enough imagery and cool blaring demon style music or something, you don't care. It doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just a fun ride. But if it doesn't, then it's well, you get killing birds, right? And I still
Yeah.
don't know, are they killing birds? Because no one kills birds, or are they killer birds? Because in Japan it's called killer birds. So the birds
Uh,
are the killers.
makes more sense.
Yeah, because no one's killing birds, I don't think.
Yeah, no.
They don't really kill anyone until last scene, and then it happens off screen anyway.
Yes. Yes.
You have to take it as a word that they're killing people.
Yeah. Could be just Robert Vaughn having a breakdown inside the house over the fact that he's in killing birds. Um, yeah, no, I'm happy to move on for this unless anybody else has anything they need to add. But yeah, it's a slog, not a lot of fun.
No, again, when I'd watched before, that's the thing that was sad for this batch for me as well. Like, I've seen a lot of these before. Like, it's one thing to watch them once, but for fuck's
Hmm.
sake, what's wrong with me? Um, right. Okay, from killing birds to some dirty love
Yes, yes.
or uh sexy dancing,
Hmm.
um, or 11 Days, 11 Nights Part 5 in some territories.
Right.
So this is
So what was 11 the day's 11 nights for then?
say that again.
What was 11 days, 11 nights part for then?
Well, we didn't get to that in our next batch. Is something for you to look forward to.
Oh, it's something that gets titled that. Yeah.
It's AKA Web of Desire. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Yes. Although confusingly, I think there's at least one film we'll get to, which was AKA 11. I think there's two 11 Days, 11 Nights Part 3 as well. Maybe. Anyway, so this is, I guess, this is cashing in on Dirty Dancing, I suppose.
Yeah,
least
very vaguely.
title-wise. Yeah, yeah. So this stars
Valentine Demi.
yes, a real name Marisa Parra, who was a lingerie model, right?
Yes, according to like, so I was reading, discovered at the age of 17. So how old is she when she's in this film? Like,
Couple of years after that, because
okay.
she's also in some Tinto Brass films
Right, yes. And
because
then
yeah,
she,
she's got a very Tinto Brass figure,
yes,
which
yeah.
you can see displayed in close-ups of her ass doing aerobics over and over and over again in this film. Right? There's a lot of that.
Yes, I mean she does look. I mean she's got quite beautiful kind of black hair, and she does look like a Italian comic character, like a Guido Crepax or like a Milo Manara. There's
Mm,
something about her that really speaks to that to me. I find her quite cute, and then she apparently did make the transition into hardcore.
yeah.
Um,
Yes.
uh, so a few years later, and did quite a lot of that. It looks
She'll
like.
be popping up again right after this. In fact, in our next
Yes,
selection. But
Did she do any hardcore with Joe then, or?
I wondered about that.
Hmm.
I don't know, but you would think she probably would have, that she would show up in some of those,
Oh.
but yeah, I don't know.
I will get maybe we'll see. I mean, something Nick likes her, so something for Nick to look forward
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
Yeah. Um. So yes. So she leaves. She's yeah. She comes to Virginia, right?
Yes.
Richmond, Virginia. I don't know if this is a hotbed of dance.
Dance action. I
Um.
think so.
You
From what
know,
I can see.
you'd think usually these stories they run away to like Broadway or something, right?
hmm
Dance, but no. Richmond, Virginia is the place.
Well, you can't even rent a room without the guy giving you the keys, like breakdancing or whatever in the hallways. So
Jimmy.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, Jimmy, yeah, he's quite the character. Um,
And if you really like, he'll give you his bicycle, so you'll remember him forever.
that's it. Yeah, that blew my mind. But anyway, yeah. So what? This one opens up right with her. She wants to follow her heart and become a dancer. So she she starts out by giving a hand job to a guy in a car, and then she gets picked up by a truck driver. She crushes his dick, apparently.
Yes,
Um,
she can't when she's not dancing, she's just fending off sex offenders,
Pretty
basically.
much.
Uh
I found the dialogue to be very Ghost House. Like people were constantly introducing themselves and like giving long chunks of expositionary dialogue, like in really awkward ways.
once again, the long shadow of Ghost House is cast upon.
But
Yeah.
I find like as these movies go on, they seem more and more like they were scripted in Italian, and then like whatever, if it was a proto Google Translate, they were run through something like that, and then just the actors, the actual American actors, were just asked, "Oh yeah, just say." Oh, it doesn't matter that it makes very little sense and sounds very awkward. It doesn't sound like anything a native speaker would ever say. You just do the lines as they're written, buddy. And you get a lot of then, yeah, very strange dialogue, very
Yeah,
awkward, you know.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
quite difficult to write an entire film which not a single line of dialogue feels natural or what anyone would say in real life.
Yeah. So from listening to the Rialto Report podcast as well, the interview they did with gay porn star Jeff Stryker,
hmm
aka Chuck Payton,
Yeah, he plays a dancer in this, right? He's
star
in
of
her class.
star of Power Tool, another classics,
hmm
which you might have seen after you come home from the mine shaft.
hmm
So, Werner Pochath of
Oh yeah.
Mosquito fame, whose name
hmm
pops up on a bunch of these films as casting director, right? So he was a casting director for a while, and according to Jeff Stryker in the Rialto Report interview, was probably kind of trying to use his casting powers to basically maybe get laid. And I think he took a shine to Jeff Stryker, which is
hmm
why he's in this and also in After Death, right? Which was Zombie Flesh Eaters 3
hmm
at some point. So yeah, interesting. I don't know what the story is there of it, Laura Gemser goes into costumes, and then Werner Pochath. I don't know why he became,
Casting director.
unless it was just a total lech move. I don't know. I mean, the man's not with us anymore, so it might be unfair to cast aspersions. And I always quite like Werner Pochath. He's in that slight Peter Lorre vein, of kind of squirrely weirdness. He's always fun to see turn up.
Yeah, he's in that Enzo G. Castellari shark movie that.
Yeah, he's in Cat o' Nine. He's all over the place, you see him. But of course, Mosquito is his big starring role, right? Which is a film I'm actually quite fond of. But yes, back to Dirty Love.
So basically, her family maybe doesn't approve of her choice to become a Broadway dancer or whatever, right? So
yeah, and she moves in with good, and then the girl ends up on the game because she's in debt.
Strung out on drugs.
Yeah, and she has to rescue her, plus also pass the big audition. And then gets involved with a guy who tries to pimp her out.
Yep. He's a kind of he's the sleazy architect guy, right? Yeah. In fact, there's a whole thing where they bring down a politician and she gets Bill Cosby'd, right, with knockout drops or whatever, and then they film this guy or whatever. But the most upsetting part of all of this to me is there's a lengthy scene. It just seems endless where her classmate takes her to this like ugly mullet mustache male strip club where like dudes who look like Tommy Ball, maybe uglier James Hetfield, and
Rock
like
on, Tommy!
all of them have like mullets and crappy mustaches. Like it's just it's rough. I was waiting for actually John Michael Thor to come out. At least he would have brought the level of male attractiveness up.
Or Mark Shannon to turn up with a cowboy hat and go, hot dog!
Exactly. But yeah, that one was, I was regretting some of my life choices by like minute 8 of that scene of like the world's worst male strippers.
Yeah, so this isn't very good, is this?
No.
Probably the highlight of these bunch of films, though.
Yeah, actually, sadly, yes. This was one I slightly enjoyed more. Just because I suppose the formula was a little bit different, and like you said, that weird line delivery gives it a slightly off-kilter kind of feel. We watched as well. We did watch someone had taken a better quality Italian TV broadcast, I think, and put the English fan on top.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were. I don't know how. I think.
Here's an example of a line that just leapt out at me. When they're on the stage dancing and then they're done, and there's like there's also a kind of a vague subplot where there's the kind of the fuller figured dance instructor lady who kind of has the hots for our main character, right? And there's this kind of this lesbian subplot there. But anyway, there's the two of them are sitting together, and the guy says, "Those that are selected is," and then starts to give their names, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like they made a native English speaker say that line, and he didn't say, "You know what, Joe, that really doesn't sound right to me."
I have sympathy. I've been forced to say things that don't belong in the English language many times, and
I thought you might.
It's up to you to try and sell it, and yes, it's tough out there, I tell you.
Yeah. Anyway, but I think she's cute.
Lucky for you then, Nick, because she's the star of our next film. You had a Valentine Demi double bill.
I did. This one was less, for me, less entertaining than the last one. But anyway.
You mean you weren't jonesing to see Demi's tits covered in blood?
No, that was all right, actually. That was one of the few memorable scenes in the movie.
So yeah, 11 Days, 11 Nights, Part 3.
Except that it's really not. It's
because Hot Afternoon.
Yes, Hot Afternoon, yes.
I think it's actually, yes, it's Angel Delight Heart.
Nice.
It's the light confection to Angel Heart.
Mhm.
Hearty, nutritious. I mean, Angel Heart's a fun film. It's a good film, but Angel Heart is kind of a little bit silly as well, right?
Oh,
Because
yes.
Robert De Niro as Louis Cypher, right?
With eggs.
Yeah. Um, but no, but that's like a proper film, right?
Yes.
And then you have 11 Days, 11 Nights, Part Two. Um, another film mirage that's clearly the seal of quality, right? Uh, so yeah, so again, New Orleans, a New York reporter, as played by Alan Court, real name Kurt McCown, who's now a not funny stand-up comedian. I sent you a link. I don't know if you
Thanks for that. Yeah, that
watched
was
that.
awful.
Yeah, he's pretty bad. Kind of edgy,
Yeah,
edgy.
and introduced by one of the most annoying SNL actors as well in that little thing you sent us. The guy
Oh
used to
yeah,
play
he did look
the Monkey
familiar.
Boy character, or whatever.
Yeah. Um. So and he's also in he'll turn up in Deep Blood as well, right? He was in that. He was one of the leads in that as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, so he's been sent to New Orleans to investigate. Apparently Cajuns do voodoo now.
Hmm.
It's like a weird crossover thing, I guess.
Mhm.
Uh,
That's a short step from gumbo to voodoo, I think.
right. So he goes down there and he takes his missus with him, who's Nick's favorite, Valentine Demi,
Yeah.
and they quite enjoy playing kinky games. Like he enjoys getting waiters in restaurants to look up her skirt, and so then it makes him jealous. So then he's in the mood, I guess. So he's into all these
Oh, did it
mind
just seem that
games.
that waiter was just kind of annoyed and kind of repulsed by the whole thing? He didn't sell me as that he was in any way interested in what he was
Well,
getting a
no,
night.
apparently it meant he was gay, right? That was
I
the gag.
assumed.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, because he says, "How was I to know he was gay?" Right? Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. I think I missed that.
Um. Yes. So
And he really leans into the cuckoldry in this as a character. He really he
yeah,
gets cuckolded hard.
he takes her with him, and which is a bad move because she falls for this tough Cajun guy.
Swarthy dude.
Little bit of poor white trash in the mix here.
Yeah,
Um,
I thought actually I thought that too. I thought it was a little bit Timothy Carey adjacent.
and while she shacks up with him, he shacks up with this female novelist who's seen reading Alvin Toffler's Future Shock
Hmm.
bestseller at one point. And you think, oh, okay, this is just a kind of steamy, because New Orleans, they really go out their way to show how sweaty New Orleans is in this film, right? Like
Yes.
everyone's like constantly drenched
Yeah.
in sweat, and there's a whole talk about how mystical it is, and outsiders don't like. They really go out their way to try and sell New
Oh,
Orleans as like a
this is the place that paralyzes you. You don't fall in love with a person here, but rather you become grossly obsessed with the environment. It's not like our world, Clive.
yeah, it is weird. It's like it's not they're talking about a different part of the country. It's like they've gone to another planet or something.
Yeah. Dimension.
Yeah, it's very strange. I wonder if that's what D'Amato felt. I don't know. Or
Yeah.
It's just like a pretty dangerous place, that he went to. But you
you,
gotta give him that.
it's a place that paralyzes you. You come here and you make it a shit film. You think you're gonna make it a good one like I used to, but no, they are all big piles of crap. So yeah, so all that's going on, and then it suddenly takes a turn for the more where it goes a bit more Angel Heart to the
Mhm.
believers, and it turns out that Demi is set for human sacrifice, right?
Mhm.
So then the film should get more exciting, but does
Not really. Yeah.
um yeah, I guess the equivalent of it being so hot and humid that you can't get it up, right? Because your balls are just soaked in sweat. Um
Hmm. Yeah, the whole film is, I mean, it's just people wandering around, kind of like being vague. Like a lot of the running time of this film is just people kind of wandering around. And then there's a lot of what's his face moping. Just kind of that like lengths of just sitting on the porch of the house that he's being cuckolded in by this,
Yeah, I suppose that's if you like Demi, like Nick does. I suppose there's a worthwhile scene of her being banged from behind over a kitchen table, which is quite sexy.
Yep.
Um,
Hmm.
but
But that's pretty thin gruel, let's face it,
yes,
like for this
but
for
I'm
like 90
guessing
minutes.
you might have been saving some screenshots from that scene. Um,
Uh,
no, it's yeah, no, yeah, I struggle to say much of. I mean, I suppose at least I appreciate that they tried to do something a little bit different from the first. Not that it's not really an 11 Nights,
yeah, I don't
but
think it is.
no. Um, Gav, anything to add? Say
Well,
this.
this was the first of the three that I watched, these 11 Days, 11 Nights films, and I thought I was quite glad to discover the first two are unconnected to this one. The idea of watching two previous films with these same characters, film with joy. So at least it's that.
But yeah, but I do wonder if in the way of these filmmakers thinking of the kind of trying to, chase hits, you do wonder if the connection was, 9.5 weeks, we copied that. That had Mickey Rourke. What else is
Mhm.
Mickey Rourke in? Oh, Angel Heart, let's do that. I mean, it could have gone, what else was Mickey Rourke in? Barfly.
Barfly. That would have that's the one Joe should have made.
Or yeah, Prince of the City, or hey, Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man.
Man.
Maybe that classic hadn't come out yet, right? So
Yes, I don't think so.
so there we're left with right. Okay, fuck that.
Mhm.
Let's move on
Okay.
because
Yes.
oh no, I say that, but
We're not talking about Blue Angel Cafe, are we?
I'm afraid we are.
Oh, Jesus. Although I will say that it has the best. So the opening credit says Foreign Sales Film Export Group presents. I was like, that is the most generic name I've ever heard.
I realize this is kind of sniffing a whole bunch of different turds and to say which one smells the worst. But was maybe Blue Angel Cafe the worst of? I think this was
I
probably the worst for me.
I think it might have been, yeah. But I don't know, Gav.
Yeah. Well, maybe this and the shark one. I think pretty
Well,
much neck
well,
and neck. Boring.
yeah, I mean, oddly enough, actually, if you were just to take it in terms of just pure filmmaking, I suppose you could argue this is probably one of the better at least it makes sense. Like the story makes sense, but it's just so fucking boring, right? Like,
Well, it almost could run on like TV. Like it almost has a made for TV, like American made for TV, like HBO, but even not that out, like, kind of just, I don't know. It's just Showtime, one of those kind of like channels that shows vaguely titillating, like adult dramas. Um,
yeah. So this
I
is kind of
Fatal Attraction. I wonder if Fatal Attraction was in the mix for this one because she goes pretty full on psycho about like entering into this guy's life and then derailing it basically for her own needs, right?
um, yeah. I mean, it's a rewrite of the Blue Angel, right? That
Right.
1930s von Sternberg film with Emil Jannings and Melina Dietrich.
Mhm.
Except he's a professor in that film, I think, not a
Politician.
politician. I've never actually seen the Blue Angel, so have either of you?
Nope.
No.
No.
Um,
No,
so
I'm too busy watching shit like the Blue
yes,
Angel.
if Tomato didn't make it, I'm not interested, man. Um, yeah, so so this is Tara Buckman, right? Who,
Mhm.
if you're actually looking for a fun Tara Buckman film, I would recommend. So for the Septic Shock Road Trip YouTube video series, me and Ron did an Italians Invade Virginia special because this is another
Mhm.
Virginian one, and Tara Buckman stars in Claudio Fragaso's Night Killer.
Okay.
which is a fantastically ludicrous. Have either of you seen Night Killer?
I haven't.
Check out Night Killer. It's
Right.
it's we watched it on a double bill with Metamorphosis, the George Eastman directed film,
Mm.
which will figure in later in this episode, actually.
Oh,
I wonder if you can
I
guess
was
how.
I was thinking about George and why he hasn't been in any of this whole brace of. Did he and D'Amato have a falling out, or was it just
He's got more sense than us.
was he just not acting as much at this point? Was he doing more stuff behind the scenes?
I don't know. Anyway,
Anyway, okay,
yeah. So Tara Buckman, if you're into Tara Buckman, watch
that's
Night
the one.
Killer instead
Okay.
of this one. That's the one you want to go for.
I'd recommend watch any film other than this one, really.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Um, yeah. So she's a nightclub singer who, I mean, I
Who
don't.
knows one fucking song? She has one song and she sings it like 9 times in this
Yeah,
film.
and she's not even particularly. I know this is kind of subjective, right? But she's not like especially hot or talented or
Oh.
anything. But everyone who sees her seems like mesmerized. She really is fantastic. Is one line, and I'm thinking,
Mm-hmm.
is she really? She's spectacularly ordinary, I think, is what she is. But that doesn't really work as a line of dialogue. She really is spectacularly ordinary, isn't she? So the he's running for governor, right? Richard Brown, I guess. A lot of these people, it's funny, they obviously found local talent who never were in anything ever again, right? To be in.
Mhm.
There's a lot of one and dones, including this guy. Yeah, he's the front runner. He falls for her. He's a married man, and then she unwittingly, she kind of she's she falls for him, but she's tricked into uh, uh, um, honey trapping him, right, for a blackmail
Mhm.
campaign, and then he leaves his wife for her, and then but his career goes down the shitter, so he becomes alcoholic, and then she turns tricks to support him, and everyone ends up hating each other, blah 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 blah. And there's a lot of not even saxophone music of this synth saxophone music, right? Um,
Yep.
which is like one level. You're fed up of seeing the sax music in these erotic. Oh, fuck, it's another fucking saxophone, right? But it's the synth saxophone, which is like a sign of a even lower strata of erotic thriller.
Mm. I'm sorry. I'm just realizing that. So I was thinking about is Dick Brown even his real name, right? But then it turns out that he appeared in a movie called or in a TV series called Black Sheep Squadron as transport pilot sergeant
Who
under the
could
name
forget his turn as transport in Black Sheep Squadron?
of, but under the name of this was his acting name then was Reb Brownell. So not Reb Brown, but Reb
Brownell.
Brownell.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Anyway, bit of IMDb trivia for you there.
Fantastic. Yes, we're
Um,
clutching at straws.
yeah, because that this
Um,
movie is
yes.
pain is properly painful. This was the one where I
Does,
was squirming,
does
constantly
anyone
looking.
have anything interesting to say about?
Painfully ordinary.
Yes, yes, painfully ordinary. Here's so I don't know where I grabbed this review from, but online. But overall, this is a tame and boring romantic drama. Not even Joe D'Amato's most hardcore faithful should bother tracking this garbage down.
That's us, right?
That
One
apparently,
actual word has been said.
And we did bother. That's the thing.
hmm
We did the work so you don't have to.
yes,
Stay away.
forewarned is forearmed, ladies and
Our
gentlemen.
our pain is for nothing if you ignore us. Stay
Mm.
away from the Blue Angel Cafe. Either
Mhm.
watch. Here we go. Double bill, Night Killer, and the original Blue Angel. Maybe.
Mhm.
How about that?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, can we move on from that turd to Oh, are we
Another third.
Indeed, indeed.
We are turd
Bobbing. This episode should be called "Bobbing for Turds." I
bobbing
think.
for turds.
Yes, the Halloween Joe D'Amato speciality. Okay, so let's put
Are
our
you
heads
ready
underwater
for
and see what we
some
come up with.
deep blood?
Hmm.
Here we go. I can tell this is the Gav favorite already.
Yeah, you've already brought it up. Do you want to get ahead of us, Gav? Why don't you give us the lowdown on Deep Blood?
Oh, no. God. It's terrible. Um,
So I just point out, I saw this less than a year ago. I've watched this fucking thing twice.
In the calendar year.
Yeah.
Wow.
didn't Bruno Mattei make a sort of shark film around this time as well?
Was Cruel Jaws?
Yes,
Cruel
exactly.
Jaws.
So that's the interesting thing. Yeah.
Ah.
Well,
But your Simon stuck that for that, and that's much more entertaining than this one. Yeah.
yeah, because that's the one where they have the immortal line. We're gonna need a bigger helicopter.
Yes. Also, it has some of the best
yeah.
dialogue over the top of clown music you've ever heard. Like somebody telling a really intense kind of like it's like that story from like the original Jaws about like, all the people getting eaten. So a guy does one of those things, but underneath it, there's like do 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 do. Who made that? Great choice.
Probably watching that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the fact that
men in the water. Yeah. No, so it's interesting. So this is in the linear. So this uses stock footage from The Last Shark, right? Which is a film
of course.
me and Nick have spoken about. And again, the thing I remember most about that, for some strange reason, is the pan across the beach.
The beach with Tom Petty in a box.
And there's like a weird Uncle Sam.
Yeah, it's Tom Petty. I'm pretty sure it's Tom Petty, and he's in there doing Free Falling or whatever.
Yeah.
On an acoustic guitar in a box on the beach.
So there's some footage from The Last Shark in this, I think. There's some slow motion stuff, and the shark is.
I think the shark when it blows up.
But then they took footage from this and The Last Shark and put that into Cruel Jaws. So there's a triple bill to lose your mind to: is Last Shark, Deep Blood, Cruel Jaws. No, I agree with Gav. If you're looking for a fun, trashy shark film, Cruel Jaws is the one to go.
Oh yeah,
more
not
than
this thing.
But
it's funny for me. What's strange about this brace of films is that it's making me uncomfortable on a number of levels. Not just because they're bad and boring, but they're so specific to the time and place. Like to me, I have such clear memories of being like in North America in 1989, where everyone's wearing like chip and pepper t-shirts and Bermuda shorts and flip-flops, and everyone's fucking preppy assholes. And so it's giving me like semi-PTSD flashbacks watching some of these. And the same ones during that shitty Lenzi film where the guy drives the camper van around and murders girls.
Picture in the Dark.
In the dark, yeah. It's same kind of thing where I'm just, this is bringing back like very clear memories of how awful that time and place was.
Well, so they also I suppose maybe Pet Sematary was the influence here, because they throw in some Native American bullshit they made up.
Yeah, played by a dude who is so far from a Native American, old balding white man.
Well, the thing that made me laugh about this more than anything else, I think, which I thought was absolutely hysterical. So basically, there's some kid characters, right? At the beginning, they're busy like doing whatever fuck kids.
A sausage cookout or whatever.
Yeah. And then this old non-Native American guy pretending to be a Native American basically comes to bother them, right? There's like you were talking about making up dialogue for a film when you were high. I kept expecting one of the little kids to say, fuck off, mister. Like, we're busy eating sausages. Like, what the fuck are you on about? And he's on and on about back in my day. And he makes them bury some Native American instrument.
Arrow box thing, yeah.
Yes. And then also he makes these kids slice their hands open and have a blood pact, right?
Blood oaths, yeah. And there's a vaguely Dagon-y kind of like thing going on as well, like an ancient sea evil.
Yeah, so then basically when a normal shark does start attacking people, then these kids, now grown up, have to dig up this thing. But what made me laugh is the thing is they buried the stuff in less than a foot of sand,
Right next to the water.
about a meter away from the shoreline. And I'm
Yes,
thinking,
definitely going to be there 10 years
that's
later.
not going to be there like in a week, let alone 10 years later.
Year.
Somehow they magically find it. Oh yeah, this is the spot. I remember it. It's the bit with sand, you know, and they
Yeah.
dig it up and it's not wet. And then
Nope.
it's all there. I thought that was like fantastically pathetic. They didn't even go to the trouble of like
Aging it.
they went a bit inland and dig a big hole or something. No, just fucking I don't care. They put it in the sand. This is bullshit anyway. Yeah, this is extremely cynical filmmaking.
Yep. And so yeah, so we basically get, and there's a police chief, Cody, not to be mistaken for Brody, who's
Yes.
kind of
Who's the
lousy.
worst fucking sheriff?
Yes.
Like, yeah, he clearly just wants to be at home in his lazy boy
Hmm.
with a kind of Budweiser, right? Like he just yeah.
And there's the four, there's the four, and then it's weird. At the beginning, it almost was giving me like I was trying to figure out like they were throwing so much like shit at the wall at the beginning because there's a guy in military school, but he's only there because his dad's, you know,
Yeah, and there's another one whose dad's traumatized because his little brother died on a shipping
yeah,
expedition, and
yeah, and then there's the guy whose mom commits suicide, and he's always kind of he's got this like Innsmouth look about him, and he's the one who really gets obsessed with killing the shark, and then there's the one who gets eaten.
and
Right.
Alan Court from Dirty Love. Was it Dirty Love he was in? What was he in? I can't remember. I don't care. That
Yeah,
guy.
no.
Oh no, 11 Days, 11 Nights, Part 3.
Right.
He's in it. Yeah, this is awful. I mean, yeah. I mean, I should anything of the well, maybe this is a little late, but any Italian Jaws ripoff of this vintage, I should be able to enjoy at least like a little bit
Hmm.
more than this, right? But because I remember first seeing this not that long ago, a few months ago, I was quite excited because I didn't realize this film existed, and I'd been a long-term fan of Cruel Jaws, and then I found out, oh, there's another one. So I was, yeah. This time I'd been forewarned, so I didn't expect it. But the first time I saw this, I was properly crushed by just quite how fucking awful, and not just awful I can deal with, but awful and boring.
Mm. And also, I mean, the decision to also kind of pilfer slightly from the outsiders, but then to switch it so that the preppy kids are like the good guys and the like greaser like skid kids are like the assholes was another choice that I couldn't get behind. Although the one guy has a change of heart, so they do take the one skid row looking dude with them on the boat at the end, but this thing stinks. It's yeah, it's bad. It's really bad.
No arguments here. Gav, any final
No.
parting words on Deep Blood?
No. This has got Charlie Brill and Mitzi McCall in it. It's like a proper careers.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah.
From Stutz, soon to be regulars in Still Starving.
Yeah. Oh, they managed to rope in some talented people.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let us not prolong the pain anymore. Well, actually, we will, but this is a slight, I mean, I guess a little bit better than Deep. Like,
Well, I mean, like we have set the bar so low this episode that I found this refreshing.
yeah,
And I hadn't seen this
good.
before. I hadn't seen this before, so I was surprised and impressed by all of the Troll 2
Yeah.
shit that goes on.
For me as well, actually, this was one of the few ones I hadn't seen before. So again, that was just a, yeah. What's the stale bread for a dying, starving man and all that.
Right.
Yeah. Quest for the Mighty Sword, aka Ator 3, the Hobgoblin, Hobgoblins or Troll 3, not to be confused with Crawlers, which we'll be talking about next time, which is also Troll 3. And it's not Ato 3, it's Ato 4. But it's the third one that Joe D'Amato directed.
Yes, and the first one that doesn't star the almighty Miles O'Keefe.
Yeah. So the one we jumped over was Iron Warrior, which was directed by someone else, which I actually remember, if my memory is right, and it might not be, I think Iron Warrior might actually have been the best of the, I call Actor, but according to it's Ator, right?
No, this movie, everyone says it however the fuck they want, because at various points, it's sometimes even between one line to the next line, somebody will go Ator, the next person will go Ator, because apparently nobody cared.
Yes, yeah, but yes, Miles O'Keefe has been swapped out for Eric Allen Kramer, who had previously played Thor.
He had. Then the Marvel version of Thor, opposite Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno Hulk.
In the Incredible Hulk Returns TV movie from 1988. And it's been a while, and it's not really my bag, but don't those TV movie Incredible Hulk sequels have like quite a good reputation? I think they're
I think so.
Yeah.
And he's fine, I guess.
I don't know. He's odd because he's clearly he is in good shape to a certain extent. Like he's got
he's more beefy. He's less chiseled and cut.
Yeah, but when it's just his face in frame, he's got quite a fat face, isn't he?
Yes,
but he looks slightly less Ator-y when he gets close-ups of his face.
It feels like he should have been a wrestler, wrestler turned actor, sort of.
Totally. Yeah, you could see him in spandex shorts and like a
shirt. Roddy Piper-y, isn't he?
Yeah. And so it's interesting because the movie opens with him playing. I'm guessing the original Miles O'Keefe version of Ator.
Yes.
And then he also plays his identical son of Ator, also named Ator.
Called Ator or Ator, as you would call him. Yeah. Yeah. So first off, before we get into anything, did anyone actually understand the story of this one? Because I struggled. Like, it seemed deceptively. It is basically deceptively simple. But it's also the ins and outs of it are quite. So it starts off with Ator is now king of the whatever, the fucking king.
Yep.
And then another dude called Thorn, dressed head to toe in armor, who maybe was in Iron Warrior. I can't remember. It's been a while since I saw Iron Warrior. It's been a minute, but he turns up and again, I had to look this up because I wasn't quite sure if what I had seen. So he demands a sword back.
Yes.
Right? But Ator's like, no, fuck you. I'm keeping the sword and I'm giving it to my son, Ator. So then Thorn kills him. Just as she's about to kill him, an immortal woman turns up and goes, "Oi!" And for her troubles is kept in a ring of fire around a tree. But then confusingly, when Ator rescues her later, there's no fire to be seen and she's lying in a bed. That confused me for a start.
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense. And so then, okay, so Thorn kills his dad or whatever. So then cut to Ator's still. Did Thorn take over the kingdom? Because I don't think he did, because then you never see him again. And he's only mentioned like he might cause a volcano to erupt or something like that. Meanwhile, Ator's hanging around a pond with Marisa Mel, who comes into a crow, who waits until he's old enough to say, "Oh, you know that goblin thing with the Troll 2 mask? That's what it is. But it's your tranny effects." To be fair, that's quite a good. I mean, Troll 2
it's not bad, and actually
notoriously terrible, but the masks and effects are good.
Yeah, the animatronics are all right, and actually there's a reasonable amount. Like it felt like because there's also some lizard dudes. There's some robot samurai guys. There's whatever the herald that blows the horn at the beginning.
That's good.
It's
Looks like a
that
proper makeup job.
surprised me.
Siamese robots.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah. So and then
Did I mishear this? Or are those two Siamese robots called Idle and Eddie?
oh
Eddie
really?
Idle. Yeah, I thought I'm sure it's saying that the dialogue. One of them's called Idle and one of them's called Eddie.
It's entirely possible.
To be honest, there is something a bit Monty Python about this whole thing.
Mhm.
But so, and then Marissa Mel informs him, yeah, well, you know that goblin thing, Grindel, who raised you, and that's another confusing bit of messaging. So if you see someone small of stature in a fantasy film, and every time he enters frame, there's a music. Clearly, it's coded as comic relief, right?
Yes.
But there's nothing comic about him at all. He's like a horrible rapist.
Little lech.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he
Although
doesn't do
I wondered if it
anything
wasn't.
funny at all.
I was wondering if it wasn't a nod to your favorite films, Clive. If that wasn't a bit of an Empire Strikes Back thing with basically he's playing Yoda to the Ator version of Luke Skywalker,
No,
right?
no, but that music means at some
Yeah.
point, a la Masters of the Universe, he's gonna have to accidentally end up upside down in a bucket of water and
Mhm.
then come out and go, "Oh!" And then He-Man and everyone will laugh manfully
Yes.
at his hilarious diminutive exploits.
Mhm.
But it's weird. He's coded as comic relief, but is actually a horrible little thing.
Yeah, an impressive little villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he does drug Ator's mom and basically have his way with her, which is a very, very disturbing
That's
little
a weird scene. With like a prolonged kissing scene. Yeah. Thank God it didn't go any further. And also turns into like some kind of eternal slut or something, right? It was always hanging
Yes.
gambling halls.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all quite confusing.
So here's the thing. So, Clive, do you want to understand the story?
Well, no, hang on. Let me just see.
Because there is a way to do that. I don't know
But
if
then
Gav
when he does
looked into this as
because
well.
when he goes on his quest, the quest I don't understand, right? It's the quest for the mighty sword. So basically, he's found out what happened to his mother. So his quest is okay. I will get this. So then, and he goes to a series of caves
Mhm.
where he meets the Siamese robots, a fire-breathing dragon, which is the dinosaur that turns up at the end of Metamorphosis. That's the
Yeah, very youngery looking.
yeah, and then gets the immortal woman who isn't no longer in the Ring of Fire, wakes her up, volcano happens, and then I couldn't. There's no spatial like normally you go on a quest. Like the earlier Atto movies, for example, are not very good, but at
No.
least you get the sense that we're going from A to B. We have to go through this land. We have to travel from here. I didn't understand where they were going. He just seemed to randomly run into caves, like a series of caves. I don't know where he's going. I've no sense of the quest of this quest.
Well, it's the quest for the mighty sword. It's in the fucking title, Clive.
Exactly, but it's not, is it? It's not.
I know, because he actually fixes the sword about halfway through the film, and then the rest of the film is no longer the quest for the mighty
exactly.
sword.
Now it's the quest for.
So,
yeah.
Do you want to know how to get to the bottom of this whole thing? So anyway,
then.
you know, did you do any research into this?
Well,
do you
the only thing I came across is it vaguely a little bit of a reheated Sword of Nebelong story.
Not apparently it's very much a redone version of the third of the four Richard Wagner, like the third part apparently of the
right.
The Nibelungenlied.
I caught that, but even then, it still has to make sense. You can't rely on viewers being familiar with
right
Nebelong Part 3 because I'm not overly familiar. I should be actually with Nebelong, if that's how you pronounce it. It's probably not, but I'm sure it probably makes a lot more sense than Quest for the Mighty Sword, right?
I would hope. But you know, does it have Donal O'Brien in it? I mean, the original Richard Wagner version probably not. And in this one, a particularly disgusting looking Donal O'Brien covered in suppurating sores and clearly still struggling from his recent, fall and brain injury.
And Laura
Um,
Gemser,
yes, yes.
who did the costumes, and Werner Pocher.
All those warts on Donald O'Brien's face, they did sort of remind me of a certain part of Mark Shannon's head or something.
Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah, maybe
Mark
some.
Shannon's there in spirit. Yeah.
I wonder if maybe Mark Shannon had left his ball, towel or whatever that he used, and poor
Oh no.
poor Donald used on his face unknowingly.
Hot dog.
Yeah, I don't know. The fact of the matter is, I still enjoy this more than almost all of the other films from this set.
Are we agreed it's the shittest Atto film?
No,
Worse than the other two. And Iron Warrior, I haven't seen for a while, but I remember Iron Warrior, like I said, being a bit better than the other two. Maybe because we've talked about how D'Amato doesn't really do action very well, right? And none of these Atto films, you'd think an Atto film would have good action. It's again, not going by memory, but I think the Iron Warrior might have had slightly better action scenes, which automatically elevate a kind of sword and sorcery.
right.
Right. So you don't think this is the shittest out of? I think this is the worst one. Gav, what do you think?
Oh, because at least they didn't.
Most.
Well,
I like this one the most, actually, of the three.
Really?
I might too, in a way, just because I when I think back to especially the second Ator film.
Are you just Miles O'Keefe haters? And
no, I don't mind Miles.
You love Elric Ellen Kramer more.
No, I'm just thinking about all of the absolute almost contempt for the audience of having invisible villains and shit, where it's just Miles O'Keefe swinging his sword and there's nobody there.
I still think Actor 1 and 2 work as, I mean, they're not great by any means, but they're better Conan rip-offs. This feels like very last gasp kind of.
Oh yeah, I think so.
No, I can't be getting behind. More than Actor 1 and 2. I don't think.
I don't know. I think the silliness of this one somehow elevated it for me.
Well, check out Iron Warrior 3 in your spare time, lads, and get back to me and see what you think. Again, I might watch it again just because it's been a long while since I saw it. But I seem to remember thinking that Iron Warrior was a little bit better than the three D'Amato Atto films. I didn't even say two different. I just said Atto Eto. All right, we've reached.
That's it.
Hey,
only 23 more of these then left, Clive. Yes.
I was in Stockholm syndrome mode. I just thought we'd keep going, and next is. But, no, we've actually hooray! We get a brief respite until we immediately have to start watching another 8 because we're trying to catch up, right? So I'm going to try and put this up quickly, and then we're going to try and catch up and watch another. What we got in the next batch? Oh, we got some more erotic thrillers, crawlers. Oh God,
never seen that, but I haven't heard good things.
no, I have again one not so long ago actually. The one I suppose I'm looking forward to next most, even though I know nothing about it, is War Baby, a Devil in the Flesh. That looks like it might be potentially interesting, but I could almost definitely be proved wrong. Okay.
All right.
Until next time on the D'Amato Files.
Keep saving.
Saving.